What, you had 1,500 shares of Wahoo too?
Yeah.
Wahoo as they go down the hill. Wahoo.
We've already done the cell phone thing, but 1 minute. 1 minute.
Everybody's cell phone's off by now.
Mine is too.
1 minute.
Cancel phone.
It's not that kind of show, Jeffrey.
Guess you didn't see that. That's 30 seconds.
Okay. Good.
We're not going to hear it on the stereo, huh?
Got water before.
With Marlee Walker. Tonight, we feature an extended interview with legendary drummer Leslie Stardrums Milton. Plus, we bring you the CD of the week. We bring you the BluesToDo calendar, now podcasting, parts of the show each week. And we feature our CD of the week, Rory Block, Blues Walkin Like A Man, a tribute to Son House, on our Stony Plain label. Plus, we have another giveaway, so stick around. It's BluesToDo TV, your connection to blues in the Pacific Northwest and beyond, with winner of over 20 blues awards and still singing the blues, Marlee Walker.
Oh, yes, and I'm still moving all of those 20 Blues Awards. It is such a chore every time I move. Anyway, thank you for tuning in to live television on a Friday night. A rarity in this media world. Yeah, I know. I talk to people all the time about what their media sources are. So thank you for tuning into this one, Channel 29 and 77. And also, we are live streaming. Tell your buddies all over the world, www.scantv.org. And I tell people all the time, so I know every once in a while I'm getting a new viewer. Tonight, we have a repeat guest, but we just barely touched on his lifetime of stories playing in the blues world and more. Leslie Stardrums Milton, and a fine guest he was. He and Gail Curath played a great set here, but we're going to get more conversation with the one and only Leslie Stardrums Milton. Stick around for that. We also feature, of course, our Civil Rights Minute and our CD of the Week, starting off on the Stony Plain label. It's a tribute, indeed. She did Robert Johnson tribute record already, and Robert Johnson was a guy that watched Son House, so Son House is the tribute this time. Messenger for the Blues, a tribute to the great Son House on Stony Plain Records. Is called Blues Walkin Like A Man, and she does a great interpretation. She actually met him when she was 15 years old. Let's listen to our first track of our featured CD of the week here on BluesToDo TV.
Burning hell, where I'm going when I die, can't nobody tell. Ain't no heaven now, ain't no burning hell. I'll preach it now. Oh, where I'm gone when I die, can't nobody tell.
It is on the Stony Plain record label, brand new Rory Block. I had to throw it on. It's actually not out until September 30th, but look for that from the Edmonton, Alberta record label, Stony Plain. Yes, Blues Walkin Like A Man, a collection of 13 songs, 40 years after she met the man, 1965. She's 15 years old. Son House is 63 years old. And they've got Dick Waterman and Stephen Grossman in the background talking. Anyway, You might also hear some stuff in the background of these recordings: a nearby freight train, the pinging of an ice storm, the clamor of 5 dogs, 2 cats, and an occasional dripping faucet. Yeah, they recorded it in a tiled room. So interesting session here. Rory Block, a true purist in the blues world, country blues in particular, and a tribute to Son House here on BluesToDo TV. Track number 2.
I sat down and I cried. Well, I went in my room. I sat down and I cried. Well, I didn't have no blues, but I just said I just wasn't satisfied.
That's right, Jinx Blues, Preaching the Blues, lots of great material. Of course, Death Letter on there as well. A tribute to Son House, one of the greats. When she saw him, she was, like I said, 15 years old. An incredible experience because the man had more passion in his live performances than I think many people still today try to match. One of the foremost founding musical giants still to this day, and a million stories in his eyes alone. Anyway, she used to be called Sunshine Kate on her very first recording. Make a note of that for your crossword puzzles and whatnot. She made some early recordings for Elektra, then she recorded for RCA Victor and Chrysalis, and then Rounder. She's won 5, count them, 5 WC Handy Awards, 2 for Traditional Blues Female, and 3 for Acoustic Blues Album of the Year. This last year was her most recent. She also got a gold record in Holland, and she says very simply, life is short and fragile, and I know we all have a mission. Don't forget that it is a great privilege to be in this miraculous place, and that if you are here, you're chosen. Here's another track from Rory Block's latest release here on BluesToDo TV. It's a tribute to Son House called Blues Walkin Like a Man.
I bow down and pray. Tell the blues good morning. Go my merry way. Oh, I had religion to this very day. Oh, I had religion to this very day. But the man and the whiskey, well, they would not let me pray. Oh, I wish I had me a heaven of my own. A heaven of my own. Then I'd give all my
Oh, indeed, a great new release. And she still, to this day, has not gone back and listened to those old recordings. So she's doing her own interpretation, but very affected by the man's music. Son House, a tribute to him, the latest recording from Rory Block, and it is again on the Stony Plain record label with the Lovin' Spoonful's John Sebastian, a good friend of hers, on harmonica. And again, some fine material. He actually saw her play a little bit. She was playing Willie Brown's Future Blues, and it was a pretty amazing response. He said, "Where did she learn to play like this?" And of course, you still say that when you see Rory Block. So a deep impression Son House made on Rory Block. And our featured CD of the week, as I said, out next week. All right, glad you turned on to the new stuff. We're always talking about the old stuff, though, and there's a wealth of that in our guests' lifetime story. So we're going to get some great old stories. Yeah, you ever heard of the Dewdrop Inn? We're going to be talking about it, so stick around. More BluesToDo TV coming your way. It is time for our Civil Rights Minute. This week it is James Meredith, born 1933. I don't know, I think he's still alive, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, It was September 26, 1962, 16 days after the Supreme Court upheld James Meredith's right to attend an all-white University of Mississippi. Meredith drew up his will. "The price of progress is indeed high," he wrote, "but the price of holding it back is much higher." A U.S. Air Force veteran, Meredith filed suit through the NAACP when Ole Miss denied him admission. After the Supreme Court decree, some 500 federal officials accompanied Meredith on campus. A white mob of more than 2,000 rioted, injuring more than 150 officials and killing 2 white bystanders. Nevertheless, Meredith not only registered, but after enduring perpetual harassment, graduated on August 18, 1963. 3 years later, he began a march from Memphis, Tennessee to Jackson, Mississippi to encourage voter registration. He was shot, but later rejoined the march, which resulted in thousands of African Americans registering to vote in Mississippi. What a brave man, James Meredith, born 1933. Again, we want to thank the Civil Rights Movement Knowledge Cards for the information and the Library of Congress for allowing us to put this on the air here at Public Access Channel 2977. It comes from the U.S. News and World Report collection and the Prints and Photographs Division in the Library of Congress. We did get permission from the Pomegranate Communications folks in California to put this on the air. James Meredith, one member of the Civil Rights Movement. 40 years later, we're still talking about it, and an incredible movement it was. A lot of folks in the blues we talked to seem to have stories that are parallel or that bring to light some of the experiences of folks in the Civil Rights Movement. So we'll probably put some of that in the show today, too. All right, we have BluesToDo calendar to knock your socks off. A lot of great music in our calendar tonight. Well, it was last night. They were at the Triple Door. Tonight they're at Jazz Bones. The legendary Rhythm and Blues Review features Tommy Castro. Who else we got in there? Anyway, yeah, Kenny Neal. Give them a spin. It is a recording they did together, and they all were on the cruise together. So it's like a mini cruise. We'll tell you more in a minute. It's BluesToDo TV. That's Deanna Bogart on there, huh?
And she gave a my change and heard a life story. She had these old girl eyes and a teenage face. And she told me how she'd fallen in love with the bass. Now the girl in the band at school didn't mind what they were saying. Sometimes kind and sometimes cruel. Good or bad, she kept on playing with my child by my side. Fingers pressed inside my hand. A new light smiles out from my eyes. And I am still the girl.
That's right. The CD is called Command Performance, and it features just about all of them. Magic Dick is part of the performance this weekend. Also Kenny Neal, Deanna Bogart, Tommy Castro. You heard some Marsha Ball singing on that CD as well. The legendary Rhythm and Blues Review. They have another cruise coming up in October, and as a matter of fact, our very own Randy Oxford will be on the cruise and organizing some of the activities that go on. Let's see. They're going from San Diego to the Mexican Riviera, and when they get to Cabo, he's got an all-star band he's organizing. So good luck to Randy Oxford, the 5th through the 12th. He's been doing that for 3 years, the legendary Rhythm and Blues Cruise. So again, they're at Jazz Bones tonight, a few members of that cruise. All right, up next on our BluesToDo calendar, Lloyd Jones. What do they call those days up in Anacortes? They have a big festival, lots of motorcycles going on this weekend. Anyway, Lloyd Jones will be part of that, the Rockfish. Here's a sample of his music. He's doing Help from the Beatles, an arrangement that he got from Isaac Scott. I'll tell you more in a minute here on BluesToDo TV.
Oh, I'm not so sure. Now I find I've changed my mind. I've opened up the door. So won't you help me if you can? I'm feeling down. I do appreciate your being around. Help me get my feet back on the ground. Oh, won't you please, oh, won't you please help me?
Ah, yes, Mr. Lloyd Jones out of Portland, driving up to Anacortes tonight for the Rockfish gig, and then tomorrow night he'll be at the San Juan Community Theater in Friday Harbor. One of our greats, Lloyd Jones, doing that arrangement. Now, Isaac Scott, a new CD, just came out with some work of his that has not been released before, and also some work of Dave Conant's. I'm going to bring that to light here on BluesToDo TV very soon. We'll have, hopefully, Bill Freckleton on the show live to talk about it and play from that disc. He, of course, playing bass and producing that disc and helping to keep memories of both of those fine gentlemen alive. So stay tuned for more of that in the future here on BluesToDo TV. All right, next on our calendar, let's see, we got Insomniacs at the Upstage. All this is always featured, by the way. You can check it out anytime at www.BluesToDo.tv. Here's some Maceo Parker from the James Brown Band, as you know, doing his funky sax work at Jazz Alley through Sunday here on BluesToDo TV.
I'm neglecting you. I have to spend more time. I got so many things to do. Oh, I got work to do, baby. Work, baby. I got work to do. I got a job, baby. I got work to do. I got work, baby. I got work to do. I got a job, baby. I got work to do. I'm out there trying to make it, woman. Can't you see? It takes a lot of money to make it. It goes through fully. Keep your love light burning and a little food right in the plate. You might as well get this to me. Coming home a little late.
Sometimes we just need some good music to make us move our hips a little, and that would be it. Maceo Parker through Sunday at Demetrius Jazz Alley. A lot of great music coming our way here at the end of the month. Jazz Alley continues with Larry Coryell, a B3 Hammond trio with Joe Bagg and Alphonse Mouzon. Look out. That is for the 30th and the 1st, a Tuesday, Wednesday, so make sure you make a note of that. Elbum Bishop stops in Yakima on the 2nd, and then 2 nights of this gentleman, Robert Cray, a 5th anniversary for the Triple Door. Congratulations to them. Again, so many numbers, but it's the 2nd and the 3rd, their 5th anniversary at the Triple Door. Okay, throw some Robert Cray at us. Always a class act here on BluesToDo TV.
You're already gone. What's the use in even trying? You busted my heart, baby, when I found out that you were lying. You don't have to tell me. I hear it in the way you talk. And you know it's killing me. You say that it's all my fault, but is it all on me?
Robert Cray returning to some of his home roots anyway in the Seattle area, and looking forward to that. 2 nights at the Triple Door for their 5th anniversary, the 2nd and the 3rd. I know there's a lot of numbers, but you'll get it figured out. And they did release a few extra tickets, I think, about a week ago, so that you might get a chance. Average White Band, we've got the Daily Flash on our calendar, Backdoor Slam in early October, as well as Danny Ward and Reality returning to the New Orleans about once a month. Look out. Real Folk Blues, you know that from some recordings out in Chess years ago, but they're calling them the Real Folk Blues Sessions, and they are stopping here in Seattle October 15th. It includes Lurie Bell, one of my latest favorite albums of the year, I think, for me, is his latest. Kenny Blues Boss Wayne always sounds great and better every time he puts a record out. And Paul Osher, harmonica player, guitar player, extraordinary guy, used to be with the Muddy Waters Band. So they're putting it together, calling it Real Folk Blues Sessions. Again, that's one of our October highlights. We got more coming, but I'll stop now. It is BluesToDo TV. Always, you can find that BluesToDo calendar at www.bluestodo.com. They just want to shut me up. See Tab Benoit, Roy Rogers, Eric Bibb and Ruthie Foster. Some good stuff. Dirty Dozen. All right, our guest tonight, a gentleman who has recorded numerous recordings. I don't know, I talked with Kathy McDonald at length last week, and I think we counted, her number was 108 gold records. I don't know if we can count gold records with this gentleman, because in his situation, he had to get paid for the session, which meant he didn't get credit. So I'm not sure if we could ever count up the number of gold records, but it's probably up there with Kathy at about 108 or so. Please put your hands together, my studio audience and my camera people, for Mr. Stardrums Milton, Leslie Stardrums Milton, our guest this evening.
Thank you, Marlee. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming back.
My pleasure.
Well, now, we did have you here performing live with Gail Curath a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, I don't have a guest for the 26th, and we just didn't even get started. Would you come back? So I'm thrilled you did. And you actually gave me some other interviews to listen to, so I got some ammunition tonight. We're gonna. I know I asked you if you're going to write a book. We're going to do a video book with Leslie Stardrums Milton tonight. Let me get started. One of the first impressions that I had of Leslie Stardrums Milton was to see him with the Slamhound Hunters. You know, I'd love to show this CD cover if my crew will bear with me. I'm going to put this back up there and see if they can squirrel in, because Leslie's in an outfit. I know you got to get really close on this, but I'll give you some time. In an outfit there, you might be surprised. He doesn't wear those outfits normally on TV with me. He's a fine dressing professional drummer, but in this case with the Slamhound Hunters there was quite a bit of theater going on at the time, I guess. Anyway, let's listen to a track that he wrote and is recorded on this recording on CD now with the Slamhound Hunters. It's called Swamp Crab. We're going to start with that here on BluesToDo TV. Turn that one up, will you?
I'm a swamp crab from way back. I can see everything that you can see, and I know where you're going. Now that's all right, you just took a little care. Let me tell you folks, I've already been there. I'm a swamp crab from way back. I'm a swamp crab from way back. You can never catch me off guard. No traps you I wanna see. And if you can catch me, baby, I'm guaranteed to be sweet. I'm a swamp crab from way back. I'm a swamp crab from way back. Hey, look out, Firefly. I don't want to be seen right now. I'm going down here and invade this frog party.
That photograph. We got to take a look at that. We'll take another look at that photograph. You're with another drummer in that shot. Am I right?
Clarence Acox.
That's Clarence Acox.
That's right. Homeboy.
And he's part of the Earshot Jazz Festival, doing every Wednesday at the New Orleans Coast,
Yep.
of course, the Legends Band. Do you ever get a chance to sit in with him?
Oh, of course.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Yeah.
I played with his high school band. I did a special show with Stardrums with his high school band years ago.
Sweet.
Fantastic guy.
Well, now, I'm holding a bunch of CD covers because we got a lot of stuff to cover tonight. A couple of CDs you've done with Gail Curath, Lady Keys, at Alligator Soul. That's where you're found every Saturday night. This 70-year-old man not only works a day job, but he shows up every Saturday night in Everett at the Alligator Soul for a dinner show, 6:30 to 9:30. Am I right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That
You
depends
recorded-
on the Bravos, the One More, and the Yo-Yo.
Oh, yeah, okay, good. Depending on how much the audience participates, I guess.
That's right.
All right, we're going to give you a track from the live recording, Stardrums and Lady Keys, in Everett at the Alligator Soul here on BluesToDo TV. Here's a little sample.
I wonder what Muddy would say if he heard what's happening to the blues today. I wonder what Muddy would say if he heard what's happening to the blues today. The and trying to jazz it up. It just ain't the blues that way. You know what I mean? Yeah, you're right. I wonder what Muddy would say if he heard what's happening to the blues today.
Live television here with Leslie Stardrums Milton, and one that he wrote, What Would Muddy Say, done live at the Alligator Soul in Everett with Lady Keys, Gail Curath, who is also part of our studio audience tonight, watching this interview because you have quite a story to tell. You've played the blues with a lot of people.
A lot of folks.
Muddy Waters included.
Years ago.
Tell me your Muddy story.
You know, I didn't know who I was playing with at the time.
Really?
Yeah, I was so young that the guys were talking about this guy that had this new hit out. We were playing a Chitlin circuit, traveling around, and somebody said, well, we're going to be with Muddy Waters tonight. And I didn't know who Muddy Waters was at the time. But I had an opportunity to get up and play with him and with the house band. And, man, it knocked me out from that day on.
I bet.
I was a Muddy Waters fan.
Well, you're not the Mississippi Delta Blues drummer. You're actually from New Orleans, so that makes sense.
That's right.
You wouldn't connect the dots necessarily.
I didn't know. A lot of the guys, Muscle White, I didn't know who.
Right. The Memphis thing wasn't part of the New Orleans. Yeah. Well, and let's talk about New Orleans. You grew up in the French Quarter, talking about big bands, even Dixieland, a big part of your past,
right.
huh?
That's my first love, Dixieland jazz. That's right.
People probably would not assume that.
Well, I had an uncle that played Dixieland jazz music with all the popular guys in town and the guys from out of town, all the old big band guys. And I had an opportunity as a young guy. I thought about 10, 11 years old, to start playing with his band, jamming with him in different places. And I got to like these guys so much that I just thought I became a part of them, you know. And from then on, it was Dixieland jazz for me.
Well, and in those days, bands played live every night of the week, so they were like a family. I mean, more so than today.
Even on Sunday afternoon, in backyards in their homes and stuff, they'd have the beer out and the food and stuff, and all the people in the neighborhood would gather up, and we'd have a ball just playing some Dixieland jazz, you know.
Well, and the imagination is there. I've seen it in movies. There's a few scenes I've seen where the gumbo's cooking, the music is happening, the weather's nice and warm.
That's exactly what it was.
You grew up with that, huh?
I grew up with it.
Right in the French Quarter.
I still have those memories.
That's very good. And Louis Armstrong, is that part of your memory in there?
You know, I saw Louis Armstrong one time years ago in New Orleans. He was king of the Zulu parade at the time. And I never got a chance to really talk to Louis or see him up close enough, but I did get a chance to get a coconut. That he had flipped off the float, and I got it, and I still got it.
You got a Louis Armstrong story there.
I still got it, yeah.
You got a story about everybody.
Hey, you know,
an amazing career. I think I'm going to skip to the next CD. If stick with me here, Steve. We're going to go to the Frankie Ford next. You went from Dixieland, blues, swing, big band in the New Orleans 67th Ward, you called it?
6th Ward, 7th Ward, 5th Ward.
6th or 7th Ward, okay. And your whole family is now dispersed. None of them are in New Orleans?
They're gone. Everybody.
Katrina really did some damage to your family roots.
Not just them, the whole city. A lot of friends, a lot of relatives, a lot of people that we knew personally. A lot of musicians, too. You know, I knew a lot of musicians that was there that's gone.
Right. Well, and connecting to your history, there's New Orleans musicians throughout. We're going to turn this one up. Frankie Ford, you actually never got credit for this one. This is one of those you got paid for.
That's right.
But hopefully we got a big check for you on that one. It's Sea Cruise. You know this song. Frankie Ford, a track, one of the many tracks that you'll hear the drumming of Leslie Stardrums Milton right here on BluesToDo TV.
Like jumping, baby, won't you join me, please? I don't like begging, but now I'm on bending knee. I got to get to rock and get my hat off the rack. I got to boogie woogie like a knife in the back. So be my guest, you've got nothing to lose. Won't you let me take you on a sea cruise? Ooh-wee, baby, ooh-wee, baby, ooh-wee, baby.
Oh, keeping the beat, Leslie Stardrums Milton, and yes, that was him drumming on Sea Cruise with Frankie Ford, a big hit, and of course, many different connections to the music of New Orleans. Talking about your history, let's see, I want to mention this. We played some Slamhound Hunters. We showed the picture, and let me read this. This is from Bud Masterson's Northwest Chronicles on the back of the Slamhound Hunters CD. And that track, by the way, did feature vocals from the main attraction, who also were on the Satin record label. Anyway, into the backwoods of the Northwest, joining the drifters who deserted the Alaska pipeline, came a new group of social outcasts. Unruly trappers who defined their lives by the size of their evening meal and the weight of the furs on their backs. These were the Slamhound Hunters. So that's where they got that band name. And you were sitting there with a, what is that? You can't really see, but I apologize. But if you get a CD from him, maybe at the bandstand or something, you can get a closer look of him with the machete. And oh my goodness,
headband on and stuff and makeup on the face.
Right.
Yeah.
Getting some of those New Orleans roots out. Yeah,
you know it.
Yeah. You've been in the Mardi Gras parade many times, I bet,
many
growing
times. Yeah, I remember marching in one, and I thought I'd never do it again. I marched so long and so many blocks. I mean, I had no idea. I was probably 14 or 15 years old, and I had my school drum, which was a field drum, which they didn't use in those days. For those Dixieland drummers had their snare drum sitting up on their chest, and they would play like this. I had my field drum, which was weighed about maybe 10 pounds, 11 pounds. At the end of the parade, I had a gash on my leg from this thing bouncing on my leg.
Oh, no.
Plus, I got a little wasted because the guys had me drinking, and I wasn't a drinker at that time, but you could drink like you wanted to in New Orleans during those days. There wasn't a limit on drinking, but during Carnival Day, everybody partied.
Sure, right.
Well, I was wasted and hurting so bad, I just said I'd never do it again,
Dehydrate yourself, marching for hours.
I had a ball, though, playing the music.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, those memories sink in deep, especially with a little scar on your leg. Huh?
Still there.
All right, well, we won't ask to see.
No,
all right.
I won't.
Let's see, other hits you've played on. Papa Ooh Mau Mau, the Rivingtons.
Yeah.
I didn't have a copy of that in my library, unfortunately, to share with you. Dusty Springfield, Jackie DeShannon, and Put a Little Love in Your Heart. That's a huge hit.
That was a big one.
And, of course, Sonny and Cher, the soundtrack to Chastity.
Yeah.
You were on that, huh?
Yeah, we did that thing, and that was another one where there was credits not issued or given.
Okay, right. They paid you, but you didn't get actual credit. The Bill Cosby appearances on the Johnny Carson show, you were part of those.
Right.
Early on, and the Johnny Carson show, boy, what a master of talk shows, and huge to be on his show.
It was a pleasure too. I got a chance to meet some of the most popular people in the industry during that time, especially Johnny Carson. Johnny Carson was a drummer.
That's right.
Bill Cosby was a drummer.
Yeah.
I got upset on that show because they got together and played some drums, and they wouldn't let me play, or they didn't have me play. I don't know.
They wanted to take up all the space.
You know what I mean? But that was all right. I had fun.
It was Bill Cosby and Johnny Carson, right?
Exactly.
How do you argue with them?
I knew I had to get my act together. Say one of these days.
Well, you were also on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Right.
Now, I wrote this down from the interview. Bumps Blackwell, which has, of course, got a Seattle connection.
Exactly. Born and raised here.
Before you moved here, you were connected to Bumps Blackwell, and that actually opened up a big part of your career, being on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Exactly.
Tell me more about that.
I was in Los Angeles, and I got a call from Bumps to play a gig. It was supposed to be at the Ash Grove. And they called it the Ash Grove because it was a real popular place, but it caught on fire and it burned up pretty bad. They kept the furniture and stuff just like it was. Some of the stuff that they could reuse, they called it the Ash Grove.
Okay.
Anyway, we got a call to do a show here. I had no idea it was for that Sullivan show. I was with Bessie Griffin and the Gospel Pearls. And when we got to the place to set up, there was nowhere for us to get in. It was so crowded that I had nowhere to get my drums through the crowd, so I set my drums up in the back door of this place. I couldn't see the band, and I couldn't see the act. I couldn't see Bessie Griffin. But we played, and at the end of the night, Bumps came back and said, well, we got the show, and I still had no idea what show it was until the next day. He told me, we're going to be on the Ed Sullivan Show, man. You got to get your black suit ready and stuff. Ed Sullivan Show. Oh, man, are you kidding me? That's what that was for? From then on, it was like, hey,
no kidding.
It was a great night. It was a great night. Piano player that was there was a fantastic gospel pianist. Charles Barnett was his name. I think he's passed since then, but A hell of a show, you know.
Well, and you do put on a hell of a show. Leslie Stardrums Milton, the Stardrums part of it, we saw a set of his drums earlier. There's lights, practically bells and whistles going off. You're spinning sticks, you're catching them behind your back and everywhere. They're coming out of every...
Bounce them off the floor.
That's right, you bounce them off the floor.
Walls, yeah.
Where'd you start to learn that, and where'd that come from?
Well, you know, I thought years ago, I saw a saxophone player, and I'm going to call his name in a minute, but he was one of the baddest saxophonists. I was at a show that I was very young at, and he came out to play, and the lights went out in the place, and a lot of people thought it was just a blackout. But black lights came on stage, and this guy's horn was the only thing that we saw.
Wow.
Walking up and down the stage, you know, and on his back and
Very
stuff.
dramatic.
So I said, hey, you know, I might think about doing my drums like that. You know, and from then on, I started working on them a little bit at a time, searching for the different paint. Eventually, I wound up finding invisible paint, the different, from Shannon Glow. It's a place in Los Angeles, Santa Monica, really. I kept searching and searching. I found these people that had this invisible paint, different colors. You can't see it during the daylight or in light, but when the black light, you put black lights on, they come alive. So I painted all the drums.
The whole kit.
The whole kit, you know, and the guy told me during the time I was doing it that Disneyland was doing their show during the bicentennial, and all red, white, and blue. They was celebrating the bicentennial, and I was just happened to play in this place. I decided to do the bicentennial
Red,
thing.
white,
I
and
put
blue, that
red
works.
flags, red and white flags under the drums, and a big 76 on the bass drum that blinked off and on.
Oh,
the
I had to
drums
love
lit up
that.
in the dark, and the sticks glowed in the dark. And from then on, Marlee, I couldn't stop doing it.
Well, you've been a showman since you were a kid, huh?
Oh yeah, I've been a clown all my life.
In grade school,
Yeah.
they probably
Yeah.
had to...
I was the class laugher. You
Well,
know.
now, when did you know drumming was going to be your career choice?
I was
there
5.
a turning point? Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I'm telling you.
Your uncle really was opening the doors.
He was my mentor. He was my savior. I never ever remember anything for Christmas other than getting a drum.
Oh, every year, a different
From the
size.
time I was 5, I got a little, you know, the little 10 drums that you
Right,
see
right.
in displays and stuff. Well,
One
that
at
was
a
my
time.
first one. The drum lasts, but the sticks didn't.
Oh, right.
So I had to find something to beat, so I used knives, forks, spoons.
Experimenting,
It
yeah.
was so noisy that, you know, it disappeared. I guess somebody took it and hit it or something, got rid of it. But from then on, every Christmas, my thing was looking for that drum. Nothing else mattered to me.
And they knew that was the present to
And
get
every
him.
year, it was there. Every year.
Rhythm is your key to success.
Yep.
Tell me about, let's see, I want to back up. You study with Ellis Marsalis. Tell me about that later on.
Well, you know, I didn't really study with Ellis.
Okay.
Ellis was a substitute band teacher for one of our schools, which I was in, Joseph S. Clark. We had one of the best bands. We had a 113-piece marching concert band.
In New Orleans.
We had the number one band in the state of Louisiana for a long time, marching band and concert band. Ellis just happened to come in one time when our music teacher, Miss Bush, was her name, was off, and he came in as a substitute teacher. And we had fun with Ellis. Ellis was one of the guys that he was very particular about his music and very concise about how he did. We called him 4 for nothing because every time he started something, he would go 4 for nothing, 4 for nothing, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we got to know 4 for nothing.
Right,
you know,
that was the intro.
That was his intros, you know. But Ellis was a hell of a teacher. He was a very good teacher. I enjoyed working with him.
Oh, I bet. And his whole family learning
I remember
the
when they
music.
were born.
Really?
Yeah, all of them.
The trombonist, Alfeo, and everybody, huh?
All of them were just still kids, still little minors when they were, you know, the trumpet player, what's his name?
Wynton Marsalis.
Wynton, yep.
Well, now let's go back a little bit for you, because you came from New Orleans and came to L.A., but Roy Brown was part of your development. Tell me some Roy Brown stories, and we're going to listen to some of him. An amazing talent. And you played with him?
I played with Roy Brown. Roy Brown, that was my first appearance at the Apollo Theater.
Oh, wow.
I must have been 16. I think I made my 17th birthday in Albany, New York. Kind of lost. And I was always anxious to get to New York. I had no idea I was going to be at the Apollo Theater. I had no idea of the Apollo Theater, of the Apollo Theater, till I got there, and then we started talking about where we were, what was going on here, and I saw the names on the wall that had appeared at this place, so I knew I was playing in one of the most famous places in the country, you know.
You were so busy drumming, you didn't keep track of all this, huh?
It didn't matter to me,
Right.
Marlee. None of these people are artists. I didn't know who the artists were.
Right.
I didn't know where the places where I was playing. It didn't matter.
The trivia wasn't important. You just wanted to go play.
I just wanted to get on those drums and play and back these people up to the best of my ability. You know, I want to make a name as a drummer to be able to say I like this guy. You know, and I did. I had fun playing with these people.
Hardest working man in the business. Let's turn it up a little bit of Roy Brown, who is one of the many people that Leslie Stardrums Milton has recorded with here on BluesToDo TV. Stick around.
Deacon Jones, he got so high they had to take him home. Here's the news about Elder Brown. He stole all the chicken and ran to town crying, hey man, there's good rockin' at midnight. Well, Caledonia got drunk, greedy like a pig. She fell down and lost her wig. Fanny Brown, she laughed till she got sick. Caledonia got mad and grabbed a brick, crying, hey man, there's good rockin' at midnight. Hey, we're gonna rock. Hey, we're gonna rock. Hey, we're gonna rock. Hey, we're gonna rock. We're gonna rock. We're gonna rock this house tonight. We're gonna rock. We're gonna rock. We're gonna rock. Rock. I've heard the news about good rockin' at midnight.
Oh, yes, indeed. It is live television here on channel 2977 and live streaming all over the planet at www.scantv.org. That is Leslie Stardrums Milton behind us and also to my left. And we are covering his career in a video kind of way tonight because I don't know when he's going to get around to writing that book. And he has an illustrious career, not really documented. You have, you don't even have a website.
Not yet.
All right, so we're collecting footage. If you want to help him with his website, I'm sure he'll take your assistance in that area. And there's a lot of people who get excited about working on your website. You have such great stories. Roy Brown, you played with him, you recorded. You want to tell more about him, or did we?
I've never recorded with Roy.
Oh, okay.
I think I went out with Roy and his second time, what they call his second time around. He had Good Rockin' Tonight, Party Doll was his hits for the Apollo Theater gig. And that was a real treat for me because it was the #1 tune in the nation at the time.
Cool. So the crowd's going nuts.
So it was great. We had a packed house every night.
And a great drumming song.
It was a great tune. Great tune.
Yeah, kick it in. Well, and danceable music. Roy Brown is all danceable stuff. So
yes, it is.
Drummers love that.
I still dance to Roy Brown.
You do, huh?
Yeah.
Well, now we're gonna get some more history out of you. Let's see. We covered that. Hey, where did I hear this? You turned down a gig with James Brown?
Yeah.
Tell me the story. What were you thinking?
Well, I heard James was so strict with his musicians.
He wasn't he?
Yeah, and I never was into that kind of thing.
But he would have loved you.
I don't know. I had a feeling about playing music to be comfortable and relaxed and having fun, and I thought that was a little bit strenuous for me at that time.
I bet you some people who worked with him would agree with you too. He was tough.
I've heard stories. I've heard stories.
Yeah.
I loved James' work. I loved his work. I loved his music. I had fun playing it, and we still do James Brown. We still do James Brown on the gig. You know, the people love it. So nothing bad to say about James Brown. It's just that I couldn't get into that kind of traveling and stuff.
Well, and you have had such an illustrious career. I mean, you're now at the Alligator Soul every Saturday, just relaxing, just having fun.
Well, for the first time in my career, in 60 years this year, I'm working with Gail, that I've never had an argument or a debate or disagreement with the music that we picked or the time. We're always on time. The gig starts on time. I've never had to wait for anybody to show up. I mean, it's been a pleasure, you know, and it's the first time that I'm able to stand out front and sit on my drums and sing and do the things that I've always wanted to do. I never had anybody else to really help me get those things under my belt, you know, like getting the right keys and finding the right keys and the right tunes and stuff.
Right,
Gail has been, I'm telling you, 100% pro.
Gravy to work with.
Gravy,
Yeah.
gravy, some of the best.
No resistance.
My illustrious career right now.
Ah, well, and that is what it should be. You should be able to relax and have fun with it. Let your soul shine.
Exactly. That's what music is about. Marlee's having fun. You know, it's not about who's the best or who's doing the most and making the most money. You know, I made some money and I had to make some money. I mean, you know, it was one of the, but I'd never stop playing my drums. You know?
Well, and it's true. It doesn't come across that it's about your ego. Even though you've won awards, you're in the Hall of Fame. The Blues Society's giving you Drummer of the Year, Entertainer of the Year. Let me just run through the list. You've gotten the recognition, even though it took you a while to accept, huh?
Exactly. Well, you know, I think one year we won together. We won some awards together. We took some pictures, and I still have them at the house. I still have you in my picture up, you know, and so I remember those days. But it was kind of hard for me to accept those awards because I had never dreamed of being involved in receiving awards for music, for my music. I've always enjoyed my music to a degree where I didn't like being voted on. I don't like judges, for one thing. I don't like judges. I want to be able to say that this guy is great, he's good, but he's not the best. And when you say someone's the best, there's always somebody out there that I know. I've run into drummers in my lifetime, young drummers that was really fantastic drummers that I love to death, you know. I had a time accepting those awards. I had to be coaxed to get
You did.
To those awards, to go up and accept those awards. I mean, it was a long time before somebody said, you have to go. I mean, it's an honor. That's your fans that's voting for you, you know, go get the awards. But I would rather have seen a younger drummer that had not had such a career like I had receive those awards to benefit his career for the rest of his life.
Well, he'll have time to do that.
That will.
And you know, truly, I know what you say about it not being a hierarchy. There's not someone who's better than another, because I've been asked in my entire radio career to rank people, one better than another, and I'm so uncomfortable with that because it is art and it is interpretation. It's up to interpretation.
Exactly.
And I can say this is an acoustic country blues record and this is a funk blues record, and I can't say one is better than the other because it's different genre. I mean, it's really difficult, I think, when we talk about hierarchy. But then again, honoring you for being the great entertainer that you are and the great drummer that you are, songwriter too, singer, songwriter. You got it all.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. You know, it's a constant work thing. It's constant work, but it's not work.
Right.
It's an attitude that you develop that you want to be better at your trade and your profession, and you constantly work at it to do things that maybe you don't see other people do, and that's why I started Stardrums. There's another drummer. I mean, trust me, I've copied stuff and emulated stuff from other drummers in my lifetime. Some of the best drummers in the world has been my mentors. You know, Stony Plain was one of the most famous show drummers of all time. Played with Count Basie. I got to know Stony Plain, and we worked on stuff together. The stick behind the back and the neck is his thing.
Okay.
I took it to another level. He flipped it once, I flipped it 3 times. I mean, you know, one of those kind of things, you know, but it worked out.
You also mentioned Louis Bellson, a big influence.
One of my favorites. Double bass drums, one of the first guys played double bass drums. Always with his tuxedo button. Tuxedo on, bow tie, married to Pearl Bailey.
So you learned professionalism, getting in the suit is what you learned from gentlemen like that?
From New Orleans. From New Orleans, the older guys in New Orleans dressed. I mean, all the old Dixieland players. Even when the jam sessions were there, they came with their suits and ties on. And I figured, you know, if that was their thing of making their career successful, that's how we would do.
Sure.
In fact, you had to have a black suit or a dark suit to play New Orleans when I was coming up. You had gigs that you did in college and schools and bands, and they said, wear your black suit. Private parties, wear your black suit. So we got used to wearing a tie and a suit and a coat. Today, I guess I'm one of the few drummers that really feel comfortable playing in a suit and tie. I mean, I can play with my tie and my neck all night long, and some guys come and say, man, I don't know how you do it, man. You know, I got it. It would kill me. You know, I play with a T-shirt on. I can't play with a T-shirt on.
It wouldn't look right.
I just don't feel. I don't feel professional. I don't feel good enough. I don't feel good.
Well, and drummers work harder than any person in the band, as you know. I think I even quoted a statistic a while back about how much you work out. You're sweating ounces and ounces of water every night that you play. Of course, it'll probably mean that you live longer than anybody else too, huh?
That might be a secret.
I sure hope so. I sure hope so.
Might be the secret, you know.
A real treat to have Leslie Stardrums Milton on my show tonight. We're going to get into some more history that ties into, like I said, the Dewdroppian in New Orleans and some Seattle history as well. We got more music to play. Let's take another music break. Some of the music of New Orleans and some of the people in New Orleans that Leslie has played with, knows, hung out with. Here's some Dr. John. I think we got queued up something sweet. It is BluesToDo TV. We'll be right back with Leslie Stardrums Milton.
All right.
I can sure enough hear you calling. Since the levee came falling, I said, where you at, my little darlings? And a mighty grown and a second line from the Garden District into the lower nine, Elysian Fields till they punch a train. You know it's sad, some things just ain't the same. We are down now, old Mississippi, in my sweet old Crescent City, sweet home New Orleans. I can sure enough hear you calling. Since the levee came a-falling.
Oh, just a little piece of Dr. John, Sipiana Hurricane. Putting a description to places that you grew up in. You were seeing pictures when he was singing about that stuff. Huh? Yeah.
Of course, yeah. I mean, the Elysian Field. How many people know what the Elysian Field is? It sounds like a baseball field or a football field, but it's the street.
Okay.
Yeah.
A field is the name of the street. Now, that is odd.
Elysian Field, yeah.
New Orleans has always been one to set trends, huh?
Yeah.
Start things. You came from New Orleans to L.A. You actually recorded on Mercury Records early on. One of the chart reading drummers that they just said, okay, here, put a chart in front of him. You can do this one. You can do that one. Tell me about recording with Bumps Blackwell and Quincy Jones.
You know, Quincy was vice president of Mercury Records during that time, and he had a lot of stuff that he was doing, so he turned a lot of stuff over to Bumps to record, and I was naturally one of Bumps Blackwell's studio drummers, so I got an opportunity to do a lot of stuff. I don't know, I still don't, it was so much, Marlee, that I don't remember half the tunes that we did. It was so much. It was like being in the studio almost every day, you know. But that was one of the things that did. But I recorded for every major label company in Los Angeles at some time. Decca, Imperial. I did Jimmy Holiday. I did. I mean, it was people that was calling me for studio work. I was doing 3 or 4 sessions a day.
You bet.
What was comical about it is just that I didn't have a lot of guys like Hal Blaine, Earl Palmer, which I would like to mention. Earl Palmer passed away last week. One of the most recorded drummers in the history of the recording industry.
Really?
But they had people set their drums up. They had, you know, people that bring their drums and set them up. I carried my drums in the trunk of my car. Oh. No cases.
Working man's drum
The guys
kit.
used to laugh at me, but they would still call me. It wasn't about how you carried your drums. It was about what you did on the sessions. The reading the charts, I didn't get into reading like I wanted to. I never enjoyed reading music. I always wanted to do my own thing in music. So they would give me the chart, and if I heard the song one time, that was it. I could play exactly what they wanted on the chart, or they could tell me what they wanted. It's about playing that rhythm and getting that time together for me, and that's what I did. You know, I didn't enjoy reading charts. I still don't read charts today. I don't like it today.
Okay.
But I was trained. I had ear training in school. And, you know, I can hear things happening in music before it occurs. So I'm able to catch it and do it like what it's supposed to be like, you know.
Well, and you grew up with it. You also have a signature sound.
Exactly.
Is it with the double bass? Is that part of your signature?
I play the double bass, yeah. I use the double bass drum pedals now. Years ago, we used to carry 2 bass drums.
Okay.
But now, since they have the double pedal, you play on 1 drum, but with the 2 pedals, you know. It's all right. It saves a little weight and a little energy, you know. But other than that, the 2 bass drums look a lot more exciting.
Right, right.
You know?
Now, is technology influencing drumming for you in all of your career? Have you seen technology make a difference, or is it's hey man, it's just how you play the kit, doesn't matter?
Well,
what
I've
you're playing?
seen some changes in drumming. Like, for instance, I lived in the projects in New Orleans where I set my drums up. I had a certain time I could play. I had a certain time, you know, I could do my thing. Today, there's electronic drums. I mean, there's padded drums that you can practice on. You can play and keep your chops up. What's what we call it, keeping your chops up and do the things that you need to do without the volume. But I didn't have that. And today I still don't use that. I practice my drums in a place now. I have a studio where I can play my drums as loud as I want to and as often as I want to. But it never interfered with me. It never changed my attitude.
Right, right.
It never changed my thinking about drumming.
You think it's more of a real sound because you did grow up doing it on the actual drums instead of on
Of course. Of course. I think, you know, when you can hear what you're doing compared to maybe thinking that is going on, it makes a difference, you know. And it's keeping your drums tuned. You know, you have to have your drums tuned all the time, you know, and you have to learn how to do those things.
Those drums have been your sweetheart since you were a little kid, so you know them backwards and forwards. You know you're intimate with your drums.
It's
really.
my mistress.
That's your mistress. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Okay, he recorded apparently a song with Ray Charles called Somebody Ought to Write a Book About It. Now, he hasn't heard that, so if you have that song on a vinyl, tape, whatever it is, please help us out. We'd love to connect him to the music that he helped create. Also, tell us, we're running out of time, but I want to hear about your KYAC radio experience. You were hired by Don Dudley to do some radio back in 1977 when you came to Seattle. You weren't really going to work
I didn't.
When you got here, but what happened?
I was coming here as a semi-retired drummer. I had been burned out, like we talked about in the last show.
15 years in L.A., you were done.
17 years in L.A. I mean, and from eating breakfast and lunch on the freeways, it kind of got a hold of me. Wow. The smog and, you know, the crowd, the people, I mean, it caught up with me, you know. Raising a family and trying to do that and traveling. I was a traveling drummer too, so I kind of got blowed out in L.A. and I wanted to make a change. So I thought I'd go to Seattle and semi-retire and just have some fun jamming with different bands around town. And I did that until I got called, like I said before, about Blue Lights wanting me to audition with them. And from then on, it was taking off again. So
you're talking about
stop.
Barrel House Chuck actually had
Chuck.
you audition to play the blues, and you had to laugh.
Yeah,
you had to laugh.
I did. I laughed.
All the people you played with up until then, he had to have an audition.
I was wondering who this little young guy is, man. Where did he come from, you know?
Barrel House Chuck, a great keyboard player,
yes,
and of course, high standards in his drummers,
yes,
so he wanted an audition. The Dewdrop Inn in New Orleans, you were a regular session drummer, so they hired you all the time to play with.
I was a drummer at the Dewdrop for years.
Alan Toussaint, who else you played with there? Eddie Bowe?
Eddie Bowe, Little Booker, and Eddie, Dr. John would play the Dewdrop. It was rough during those days because it was segregated.
What year was this?
It must have been the late 50s, early 60s.
Tough time, a very tough time.
Yeah, because I left New Orleans in '61. Okay. So it was the 50s, middle 50s, early 60s.
So you could play the Dewdrop Inn, but you couldn't be in the audience? Was that the way it was for the Dewdrop Inn at that time?
Okay. No, it was a chitlin place.
Mixed, okay.
It was, you know, I think more white people could go to Dewdrop where we couldn't go to the other places.
That's what I was understanding, it was more of an open place.
It was open place. All the big name acts in the country went to Dewdrop.
All right, well, we are, of course, out of time again. We touched on a lot of stuff. Is there something we missed that you want to throw out there?
Not that I can remember.
Okay. All right, you can find him every Saturday night, a great guest and lots of stories. We're going to have him back. I know we are. We got more to do with Leslie Stardrums Milton. I want to thank my crew tonight, working hard and keeping me on it. And next week, by the way, we're We're going to have Eric Two Scoops Moore back on the show. Lots of fun guests these days. Jeffrey Pullen is our floor director. Paul Taylor, our director. Margene, our technical director. We had help from Steve Carlson, our audio engineer. Also, Harper Howard, our announcer. Let's see, who else was here? Mike Hall on camera. Bill Hackett on camera. Bob Pearson on camera. I think Chris Van Cleek on camera. J.J. Jackson is here for moral support. We'll also have another jam in October. Lisa Marshall and the Dirty Girls are going to join us October 17th right here on the show, and then afterwards for 9 and 11 p.m. jam sessions at Egan's, and 9 p.m. will be all ages. Make a note of that one. We are podcasting parts of this show each week now. You can check the website, www.bluestodo.com, and find that podcast of the calendar and live performance. We, again, want to thank folks for tuning in to Channel 2977 and all over the Puget Sound. We go into Tacoma on Channel 76 later in the week. Oh, there he is, Leslie Stardrums Milton with some of his fans.
That's Lady Keys.
Lady Keys. Oh, and then Isaac Hayes. Yeah. All right, a great show tonight. Thank you for being here, Leslie.
My pleasure.
Really a pleasure to have you back.
I enjoyed it, Marlee.
Again, not enough time.
Yeah.
Clarence A. Cox, there you go.
Who's that guy?
Oh, I didn't ask you about Jimmy Reed. See, I got more to ask.
Brothers, it was awesome. She brings out the best.